Kaylee Cuoco and Sam Claflin star in the MGM Plus original series, Vanished. When the man Alice loves disappears on a train to the south of France, every romantic memory becomes evidence. Every intimate detail, a potential threat. She thought she knew everything about him, but she may not even know his real name. 4-part thriller Vanished premieres February 1st on MGM Plus. Finding the truth is a dangerous affair.
Hey you, and welcome folks. My name is Mike, and you're listening to the latest and greatest, possibly the best episode ever.
Oh, absolutely.
Of every episode of the That Chapter podcast. I am joined on this whole episode by, you heard his dulcet tones already, Junior Associate is back in the podcast studio. Dirty
What up,
Keith.
what up? It's me.
What's up, buddy? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, how you been?
Good. We haven't seen each other since Halloween, which is...
The Halloween special, which we did not record in Keith's back garden. I seen
No.
somebody commented that, and A, I don't know how you know that.
I
And
know,
B,
right?
it's a lie. It's not
Yeah.
true. Did we say that?
I seen that as well. I was like, how did they know?
It must have been in the Instagram pictures that
Yeah.
we must have posted it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, how did they know what your back garden looks like?
How did they know? I've no idea.
Which it wasn't in, by the way. It was in
Spooky
the
forest.
woods.
Spooky
Exactly.
forest.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, buddy, what's new with you?
Not much. A little bit of a spooky tale for you if you're interested. So
Yeah,
it's
is this related to your haunted house, which
It is.
myself and the listeners
Yeah.
grown very fond of indeed. So, you've been having lots of weird stuff. I feel like somebody should go out there and just chop up all of your stories.
'cause we're not
from
going
your, yeah, I can't remember. So any listeners out there who wants to go through every single episode of the That Chapter podcast, find Keith's stories about what's going on in his house and put it into a supercut.
Yeah,
That'd
gotta
be
be
great.
confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a That Chapter hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had you moths flying into your mouth, your daughter seeing strange figures,
Seen the blood on the wall.
blood on the wall, you and your wife both hearing people call your name.
And my daughter. And this is another story of my daughter hearing names.
Ooh.
So it's happening frequently enough now. So my office is right beside my daughter's room. And for the last 2 weeks now, she's been getting up, like, because I work late on the pod. So it happens around like 12, 1 o'clock at night. She wakes up and she's like, what are you saying? What? And like, I don't, like, there's no noises. It's so quiet. And she wakes up convinced that I'm calling her. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'll have to go into her. And she's wide awake. And she's like, you were calling me. I was like, I wasn't calling you. She was like, you were calling me. You were telling me to come out. You were telling me to come out and play. I was like, no, I wasn't.
Come out and play?
Yeah, I was like, no. Like, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
That's not good.
It's weird, yeah.
That is creepy.
It's happened frequently now. So,
Okay.
yeah. Cut that out, Ghost. Cut
I
that out.
remember from what the stories you told last winter is that the activity, your paranormal activity, usually peaks in the darker months.
It does. It seems to ramp up. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just maybe a psychological thing where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's dark and spooky.
Ooh. Well, I mean, like, we're fast approaching Christmas, so like it is the darkest time of the year.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
So
it's more shadows for the ghosts to play in, I guess.
spooking around.
Yeah. But I'll keep you updated if there's any more shout outs from the ghost.
We should get him on the pod.
Get him on the pod.
Another
yeah.
guest.
See what he has to say for himself.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And another bit of housekeeping now that you've told yours is Mike's movie reviews, Malibu Mike's movie reviews. I've got 2 for you today.
Okay.
I watched The Long Walk.
Okay.
Which I'm sure a lot of you listeners out there have probably seen too. It's based on a Stephen King short story from back in the day. I think he actually wrote it under his Bachman. It was part of his Bachman books when he was using that pen name. Very good movie.
Yeah.
So the plot is it's set kind of in like an alternate reality back in like the 60s or whatever, where America, like the economy just collapsed in America. So it's like super militarized and everything. And they pick like a teenage boy from every state to basically do this walk that begins in Maine. And you have to walk basically it's keep walking.
Okay.
Last person who makes it wins whatever they want, their wish.
Yeah.
The trick is if you stop walking or you go under, I think it's 3 miles an hour, you're executed.
Oh, it does like speed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Speed, only it's
Walking,
children
it's-
walking
it's on
and
a
you
bus.
can't stop. And it's like, so it goes on for days and days and days.
Yeah,
People just
yeah.
walking, people get injured, people get sick.
Yeah. Just Keanu Reeves hanging on to you.
Yeah, basically that's it. Yeah, it's good. So the movie is very good. It's I know Malibu Mike's horror movie reviews. It's not a horror movie, but it is by Stephen King, who is a horror author. So
Yes.
I'm putting it in there.
Yeah.
I always loved the book as a kid. The movie I thought was really good. I really enjoyed it. The ending I thought is a little bit different from the book. I thought the book ending was better. Don't know why they changed it, but yeah, overall I would give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, would I rush out to watch it again? No. But would I watch it again? If it was on, yes, I would happily sit down and watch it again.
Well, there we go. 2 thumbs up. One of your highest scores yet.
I know, which probably about an hour after I finished recording this, I'll be like, actually...
It wasn't that good, actually.
Yeah, actually, it's shite.
Yeah.
Other movie I want to talk about is a bona fide horror movie.
Okay.
It's a Korean horror movie, and you know Koreans and like Japanese, East Asians, they've got horror down to a T. They make some of the best horror movies. This was a South Korean horror movie called Noise. I thought it was brilliant. So it's a very recent movie. I think it just came out like maybe a year, 2 years most. Like probably like within the last year, I would say. This woman is living in this apartment building, or rather her sister is living in this apartment building. She goes missing. But how did she go missing? You know, there's no footage of her leaving the building or anything like that. She just vanished from inside her building. And then her sister kind of moves into that apartment to begin searching for her. And she starts hearing these noises and stuff like that. But then she goes up, people banging on the floor and stuff like that. She goes upstairs and there's nobody there. You know, that kind of stuff. Cool. It's sort of like a haunted apartment building, but with like a mystery element to it. I thought it was really, really good. Had some really scary moments. Very creepy atmosphere. Definitely, I'd give a 4 thumbs up.
4 thumbs up.
4.
Okay, you can borrow my thumbs.
Oh my, yeah, I'll take all the thumbs I can get. I thought it was great. Anybody out there is looking for a really good horror movie, check out Noise, South Korean horror movie. I thought it was fantabulous.
Okay, I probably won't check it out because it's probably subtitled or dubbed.
It's subtitled, and you can't read, so you're not.
I don't
going to
like to read on my days off.
Yeah, exactly. Feels like work. But there you go, folks. That's Melvin Mike's horror movie reviews and Dirty Keith's Haunted House Tales.
Yeah, there we are.
So now we're going to get into today's topic, which is the Lead Masks mystery.
This is a great story.
Brazil. So on the morning of August 17th, 1966, 2 men, 34-year-old Miguel Jose Viana and 32-year-old Manuel Pereira de Cruz. By the way, I'm going to butcher Portuguese and Brazilian names throughout this, so look forward to that. And if any Portuguese speakers are listening, sorry.
You're doing the best.
So these two fellas, they left their homes in Campos dos Goyotacas. Wait, fuck. Campos dos Goyotacazas. Is that right?
Close enough.
That does not sound right.
No.
Campos dos Goyotacazas, southeastern Brazil, having each told their wife the same story. They were going to Sao Paulo to buy some stuff for work. This was something the electronic technicians had done before, so neither of Miguel nor Manuel's wives questioned them about it. This was something they did all the time. Manuel, he owned a TV repair shop, and Miguel, a radio repair store, so going to get all sorts of equipment, regular occurrence. The reasoning behind the trip to Sao Paulo also explained why, between the two men, they carried a combined 2.3 million cruzeiros, which is a few dollars less than a full Benjamin, but still a decent chunk of cash, you know, for the time. That's like less than $100. They were carrying with them.
I can never get my head around these exchange rates when they go to different countries.
Yeah.
It goes into the thousands.
It goes
into
the thousands, and it's like, can I just have a beer? And they're like, that's 50,000 pereiras. I'm like, okay, what's that in non-monopoly money? Yeah.
I remember the last time I was when I was in Hungary, actually, and especially like
Florence, they use
the Florence,
yeah.
And I think when you're in the shops, it's easier to read the tags. But like, we were in like a marketplace, so it was just someone writing it. So I was like, is that 100,000 or 10,000?
Yeah.
That's a big difference. That's like difference between like €25 and €250.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really, really confusing. That's why it's like, can we just stick with like dollars, euros, pounds? They're all like equivalent.
Yeah,
like,
one means one. Okay,
a a beer is like 5
across the board.
Yeah, across the board, they're all approximately the same. Let's just stick to these low numbers, please.
See, we should do economics.
I feel like we should.
I feel like we've got a good grasp.
Yeah, we're getting side podcasts.
Oh, there we go.
Keith's economics. So anyway, Manuel and Miguel, they're traveling to Sao Paulo. They had about $100 between them, which they were ostensibly using to get some electronic equipment. All well, all good, so far ho-hum this August in 1966. Only, the men weren't going to Sao Paulo. In fact, there is no evidence, outside of their own words, to indicate they ever had any intention of making that trip. After parting ways with their wives, the pair instead took a bus to Niterói in Rio de Janeiro, almost 200 kilometers from their homes. They arrived at their destination around 2 p.m. that afternoon, and the men's first visit was to an electronic components store called Fluscop, but they found the parts that they wanted weren't in stock, so they left without buying anything. Shortly after, they entered a hardware store, where they bought a pair of matching black raincoats as it was just starting to rain. The clerk would later say that the men paid in cash and that they seemed tense, like they were anticipating something, but didn't seem scared or nervous about it at all. Next, they visited a convenience store to buy a bottle of water. During the transaction, though, a waitress working at a bar in the store noticed that Miguel appeared to be visibly nervous, later telling authorities that it seemed he had somewhere to be. He was in a rush. They paid for the bottle of water, once again paid for in cash, and then left. What happened to them after the visit to the convenience store has become one of Brazil's most enduring unsolved mysteries. They were saying they told both their wives they were going to one city, they lied. Completely different city. They were supposed to go to Sao Paulo, they went to Rio de Janeiro. They did go to an electronics store.
They did.
Part of that is true. Just it was in a completely different city. Then instead they're buying water, raincoats. You're never up to any good if you're buying water raincoats.
Right, I know, right? Like, they must have been really nervous, especially for like the cashier to pick up on it and then like remember it at a later date to tell police. Like I've always felt I would be a terrible eyewitness.
Oh my god, yeah, because we both worked in retail, and I cannot remember. You're serving hundreds of people a day.
Yeah.
You never remember any of your customers unless they really do stick out to you.
Yeah. Like, so much goes over my head. I'd be telling stories like about events that happened to me personally, and my wife would be like, "You got so much of that wrong." And these are things that like happened to me. Like I get the gist of the story, but things like location, people involved, the date and time it happened, minor details. Yeah, get them all wrong.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, for me, I'll tell a story and then my wife would be like, "That didn't happen either," because everything cool that happened, I know did in my retellings of the stories.
And now I'm the main character.
You didn't say that, somebody else did. It's like, but I did though.
But I liked it, and now I said it.
Exactly, I'm claiming it. It was then, 3 days later, on August 20th, 1966, an 18-year-old boy named Jorge da Costa Alves was taking advantage of the strong winds and the lack of rain to fly his kite on Morro de Vintém, or Vintém Hill, on the western side of Rio de Janeiro, when he spotted what he thought were two men lying on the ground close by.
He was out flying kites at 18.
Yeah, well, in the 60s in Brazil, I guess there really just was fucking nothing to do.
Yeah, just seems odd. On your own, flying a kite at 18.
Hey, well, I feel like you're being very judgmental of kite flying.
Okay, maybe.
Calm down. Jorge was a regular visitor to Vintém Hill. It was a great place to fly his kite, after all, which Keith was clearly judging him harshly about. And when he'd been there a few days earlier, he recalled seeing the two same men in the exact same place. After he nervously approached the very still figures, Jorge could see that they were both wearing formal suits and matching smart raincoats, the same ones they'd bought days earlier. The suits were far from the kind of thing you'd expect someone to be wearing on Vintém Hill. It's an isolated spot with some fairly rough terrain. Jorge contacted the police with his suspicions that he may have found two dead bodies on the side of the hill. And they'd been there for days, so there's something going on here.
Yep.
The reason for the uncertainty was the reason that the case would soon be grabbing the attention of the local population. Jorge hadn't been able to see the men's eyes. In addition to the suits and matching raincoats, both Miguel and Manuel had been wearing matching eye masks, like the kind you'd use to help block out light on a long flight, minus the elastic strip at the back. There was something very different about the masks Manuel and Miguel were wearing, though. See, Manuel and Miguel were wearing masks that looked like one you just used to block out light, but these were made of solid lead. They were handmade, probably by the men themselves, not professionally manufactured. Almost like some kind of radiation shield to block something out, something a lot stronger than just light. The men had also made themselves a pair of cups from aluminium foil, also found at the scene. The men's bodies weren't sprawled out like they went through some kind of dramatic death throes or convulsions. The bodies lay side by side as if they'd simply laid down, gone to sleep, and not woken up. Another little note on the terrain of Vintém Hill was that several reports actually claimed the area was so remote that it had taken emergency services almost another full day to reach the bodies after the initial report came in. That meant that the men's remains were exposed to the harsh elements for closer to 4 days than 3 days. The money that the men had with them when they'd left their homes that morning had also been significantly diminished from the 2.3 million cruzeros they'd started with. Only 167,000 was left in the men's wallets. Far too little to be an accurate amount of change from the raincoat's water. Where did the rest of that money go is another part of this mystery. The fact that any money, though, was left at all, well, that ruled out a robbery. They hadn't been robbed, but the discrepancy between the starting and ending amounts raised the matter of simply where the rest had gone and adds more questions to this bizarre case.
So weird.
One newspaper, O Dia, would later report that the men's bodies had actually been reported 2 days earlier by another boy named Paulo Cordero Azevedo dos Santos. That's a long name. He'd been out bird hunting, but the local policeman, Antonio Guerrera, in his infinite wisdom, had thought the boy was playing a prank when he told him he'd found 2 bodies and said, nah. He ignored that the bodies had been reported days earlier.
Good prank.
They took the guy who was kite flying seriously.
Right, yeah.
So there you go. Only serious people fly kites.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, yeah. I take it all back.
Yeah. Neither man showed any outward signs of having been the victim of violence. No obvious cuts or bruises. Close by the men's bodies, police found an empty glass bottle, the one that had contained water that they'd bought shortly after arriving in the area, along with a bag containing 2 towels. Some reports say the towels were damp, others that they were dry. Whatever is the case, there are some simple explanations for being dry or wet outside of the men using them for some nefarious means. They could have been dry at the time of the deaths, but gotten wet from dew and condensation. Or they could have been wet and dried out in the sun. But regardless, that kind of uncertainty is exactly the reason this case remains so enduring. Everybody has a theory about what really happened. In the men's pockets, investigators would later find bus tickets from Biasau San Antonio dated August 15th, a deposit receipt for the bottle of water, a notebook containing various symbols and numbers representing electronic values and components, plus a cryptic note in Miguel's cursive handwriting that read, 4:30 p.m., location determined. 6:30 p.m. Ingest capsule after effect. Protect metals. Wait for signal. Mask. Also in Miguel's pocket was his watch, his wedding ring, and a pair of reading glasses. Maybe put away to, quote, protect the metals. Protect metals, wait for signal. Mask. Whatever that means. Exactly. Yeah.
Miguel's family, they later denied that he had written the notes collected on the hill because the handwriting was not consistent with his. Also, another thing that was apparently found was a handkerchief with the initials AMS. Again, the families denied this as belonging to either of the 2 men, which is weird.
Yeah, well, we'll get into some theories pretty soon about what was really going on the hill. So despite an investigation by the Forensic Medical Institute, no actual cause of death could be determined due to the extensive level of decomposition. The men's bodies had been out in the Brazilian sun for days, after all, and to make matters worse, the coroner's office had been working through a backlog, causing the autopsies to be delayed for 2 full weeks. Though authorities were able to rule out any kind of violent assault, they could not rule out some kind of poisoning. Likely self-administered, as the note said, ingest capsule. Whatever that capsule was, we will never know. However, no trace of any toxic substance or chemical was found at the scene, but as we said, decomposition would have just removed it if it was inside them. Yeah. Though the examiner couldn't say for sure what had killed the men, they were still able to rule out many natural causes, heart disease, etc., etc. But that didn't necessarily narrow things down too much. I mean, it's very unlikely they would both go out to a hill, lie down, and suddenly both die at the same time of natural causes.
Right, yeah.
It's like definitely something happened here. Later in the investigation, despite the lack of physical evidence, authorities would speculate that it was still most likely an overdose that killed the men. This was again thanks to the note referring to the capsules, and several strange entries in the journal found at the scene, as well as some strange books and artifacts found at the men's homes. The unusual circumstances of the deaths of Miguel and Manuel was always going to cause a frenzy of speculation. But 2 months later, when it was revealed that no formal cause of death could be recorded, the rumor mill went into overdrive. Add to that the results of searches of the victims' homes, finding weird books and artifacts, and well, you got the makings of a mystery that people would still be talking about 50 years later. And now a quick word from today's sponsor, folks. It is a brand new year, 2026. Good to see it. Or not, let's see how it goes. But we are officially living in the future. Time to start thinking ahead and make 2026 the year of you. What financial goals do you want to achieve now that the holidays are over and no more money needs to be spent? No more presents need to be bought. You need a new car, a holiday, a vacay, baby? Or do you want to just save up a nice little lump sum, a little nest egg for the future? Well, I know what's going to help you track your spending throughout the year, and that is Rocket Money. Rocket Money helps you rein your spending in by showing you where your money is going and helping you make better decisions so you can keep more money in your pocket. Rocket Money, it's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and it helps lower your bills so you can keep growing them savings. Rocket Money shows all your expenses in one place, including subscriptions you forgot about. See, Rocket Money, it tracks all your subscriptions, and get this, it has the ability to cancel within the app with just a few taps, saving time and avoiding charges. Their dashboard lays out your total financial picture, including bill due dates and paydays, in a way that's easy for you to digest. It consolidates checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard to give you a clear view of your financial picture. It's all right there for you. You can even automatically create custom budgets based on your past spending. Rocket Money will also even try to negotiate lower bills for you. The app automatically scans your bills to find opportunities to save and then gets to work to get you better deals. They'll even talk to customer service so you don't have to, and who wants to? Rocket Money has saved users over 2.5 billion, including over 880 million in cancelled subscriptions alone. Their 10 million members save up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/thatchapterpod. That's rocketmoney.com/thatchapterpod. rocketmoney.com/thatchapterpod. Thank you so much to Rocket Money for sponsoring this whole episode. Save good with Rocket Money. And another word from our sponsor, folks, and they are the delicious HelloFresh. It's 2026. What better time to get your diet in a good place, right? You want to start thinking about getting that beach body ready, and nothing hits like home cooking. HelloFresh brings back the joy of the kitchen with recipes that feel good and taste delicious, night after night after night. Start your 2026 eating good, easy, and healthy. It's time to get together, and nothing does it like a good meal in your tum-tum. Bring people together with meals that are simple and rewarding on a busy weeknight. And HelloFresh has over 100 mouth-watering recipes each week, from seasonal favorites to global dishes. Folks, I've said it before, I'll say it one more time, I hate cooking. I really do. You know, some people find it relaxing, not me. I find it stressful, I find it frustrating. HelloFresh solves that problem. They deliver the exact ingredients and recipes to you, so you don't even need to think about it. You can choose from 35 plus high-protein weekly recipes, including new Mediterranean and GLP-1 friendly options, made with wholesome ingredients like sustainably sourced seafood and 100% antibiotic and hormone-free chicken. You get the steak, the seafood, the seasonal products, whatever you are in the mood for. You've got basically a menu. You pick out what they're gonna send to you. They send you the exact ingredients, so you don't need to worry about a single thing. And it's not like you're gonna have a whole load of leftovers there, you know, of all these leftover ingredients. They send you what you need. Exactly. Guys, let's get into it. So go to hellofresh.com/thatchapter10fm to get 10 free meals plus a free Zwilling knife. That's valued at $144.99 on your third box while supplies last. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. So once again, go to hellofresh.com/thatchapter10fm to get 10 free meals and a free Zwilling knife on your third box while supplies last. Folks, eat good. Get HelloFresh. Now let's get back to it. The items in question that I've kind of skirted around so far, they were the foundation of the first, and most likely, as supported by the evidence, theory as to why two men might walk up an isolated hill one afternoon, adorn themselves with their Sunday best, raincoats, and some unusual eyewear. Aliens. Yeah. Hell yeah. Here's a news report from the time. It is speculated that the deaths of two men found atop a hill in Niterói, Brazil on August 20th, 1966 may have been caused by a flying saucer. Crude eyeless lead masks lay a few inches from their faces. There were no signs of a struggle, no hint of foul play. I mean, aliens is the only answer then.
Oh, absolutely.
It's clearly got to be aliens.
It's got to be aliens. Like, I never realized how much of a UFO hotspot Brazil actually is. So some of the most dramatic close encounters and alien contact stories ever recorded have come straight out of there. So less than a decade after Miguel and Manuel's death, a small island off Brazil's northern coast found itself under siege for nearly a year in what became known as the Vampires in the Sky incident.
Ooh. That is a cool ass name. Anyway, I gotta give it that.
So this happened in 1977. So the island community of Coloras was haunted by these strange lights that they seem to stalk people through the night. Locals call them the chupa chupa, which translate to sucka sucka.
That's an awesome name.
Right? So because witnesses said that the beams of light left puncture marks and drained blood.
People whipping out their dicks into the lights.
Chuppa chuppa. Yeah. It's not going to chuppa chuppa itself. There was dozens, possibly hundreds of people, and they ended up with burn-like wounds and bizarre symptoms, which doctors compared to radiation exposure. So with no reasonable explanation for what was going on, the Brazilian Air Force, or the FAB, was sent in to investigate. The mission was officially called Operation Saucer. So by the time that they were done, they compiled over 2,000 pages of documents, 500 photographs and 16 hours of film.
Wow.
But what's even stranger is how it all ended. Just after 4 months, the whole thing was shut down and then it was sealed off as classified.
Ooh.
It wasn't until the 1990s that some of the files they were finally declassified, revealing photos of glowing objects over water and sketches of flying craft drawn by terrified witnesses. Around the same time, one of the lead officers, Captain Hollanda, he broke his silence. He described locals waking up to strange beings in protective suits firing coloured beams at their head. He said that he personally saw luminous metal discs moving in like intelligent, controlled flight patterns, as if they were studying people. 3 months after the interview that Captain Hollanda gave, he was found dead, hanged in his home with a belt from his bathrobe.
Holy shit, the old took himself out to a field and shot himself twice in the back of the head move.
Right. This is what we have to do.
Okay, we have to do that.
It's
yes,
what?
we are
It's
doing a full
there's
episode
so much
on
more.
that.
It's so good.
Okay.
But what really grabbed me about this story was the mention of radiation burns. So maybe Miguel and Manuel, they were preparing for their own close encounter with their lead masks.
Yeah, but they were like, they didn't mind getting radiation all over their bodies, just not my eyes.
Just not the eye. Well, you can't see the next move then.
Of course, yeah, that's
right.
the most important thing.
Right,
I need to be able to see. The rest of me can dissolve.
Yeah.
Like those guys in Chernobyl. But I just keep my eyeballs.
Yeah.
That's it. Such a strange
These
thing.
are the moneymakers.
Yeah,
The eyes.
yeah. However, no real proof of aliens being involved in this incident has ever, been proven. Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I think I just proved it right there, Mike.
Well, sort of. I guess you did. In your own way, Keith, you did. But, in truth, the men may have been part of something semi-related to aliens, aka a cult.
Nice.
A cult, a good old cult, that revolved, however, around some bizarre beliefs in aliens and the supernatural.
Okay.
You know, aliens can be real if you believe hard enough. That's what I always say. And it seems like these two boys, Miguel and Manuel, they wanted to believe hard enough.
Yep.
I do believe in
Aliens.
you what? I do believe in
Aliens. So the lead masks were one of the biggest oddities of the whole story. They had an obvious answer as to why they were there, right? To protect against radiation. But the obvious answer sparked dozens more questions in turn. As we said, why only protect the eyes? Why would they expect to come in contact with radiation at all? Etc. One early theory was that the men had been involved in the illegal sale of radioactive material. Maybe the sale gone bad and the clients had turned into killers, staging the scene to confuse authorities. But no solid evidence ever backed this theory up, and there was never any physical evidence on the bodies that would show like a violent assault or like a violent death.
Yeah.
Never able to find out how they were died basically at all. The lead for the masks was later found in a search of Manuel's workshop. Whether authorities ever tested for radiation at the scene where the bodies were found is unclear, but none of the responders ever claimed since to have any sort of poisoning, so it's not like there was a high amount of radiation in the area where the two bodies were found. Another explanation posed early on was that the men had been hit by lightning, but it wasn't stormy that time of the year, and despite being rainy and clouded over, there was no reports of lightning on the night when they died. So back to the why. Specifically, why would they expect to come into contact with radiation? Well, ironically, whether you are a skeptic or no, aliens are still the answer, just from a slightly different viewpoint. See, shortly after the story became widespread in Rio and eventually the whole of Brazil, a friend of one of the men came forward with claims that the pair, Manuel and Miguel, were part of a pseudo-scientific spiritualist religious sect that revolved around worshipping mysterious extraterrestrial beings. Part of that worshipping was ingesting and experimenting with psychotropic drugs. Naturally, this is 1966 after all. Drugs were very much of the moment, especially LSD and the old devil's lettuce, dude. The accusation has become pretty much accepted as fact that the two men were into this, but trying to find a source is hard to say, but mostly it's the friend.
Yeah.
Is saying this, but it's believed that that is true. And if it is true, it offers up several possible explanations, both logical and not so much, as to why Miguel and Manuel ended up dead on an isolated hill. So the first is that the men simply accidentally overdosed while on yet another trip, overdosed on drugs and just died there. It's simple, it pretty much explains all of the weirdness around the case. Almost, anyway. It's not particularly flashy or glamorous, but it's very possible. The next, and maybe far more likely, according to most people, is that the overdose was very much not accidental. Both friends and colleagues of Miguel and Manuel described them as being intelligent, bright folk who cared greatly for their friends and family. But they did both have an interest bordering on obsession with the idea of contacting other realms and a higher plane of existence. They'd even told their friends about performing various experiments, including so-called scientific seances, in an effort to find out what's out there. There seems to be a lot of evidence to indicate that the men may have indeed been part of a community with some strange spiritual beliefs. Beliefs that possibly could have included ending one's own life, leading to some kind of nirvana, and being collected by extraterrestrials. Sort of like, what's that cult who all killed themselves because they believed a meteor was coming by?
There's a few.
Heaven's Gate, yeah, that's the one, yeah. But
Which
there's
one?
a few, yeah. There's so many to choose from. But yeah, sort of like Heaven's Gate stuff.
Yeah,
You know, they believed their souls are going to be collected by a meteor or alien that was passing by, or some fucking bananas batshit bullshit like that anyway. Now, if that's what they believed, that their souls would be collected by aliens, they wouldn't be the first or the last to take such drastic action based on skewed religious beliefs after all. And none of these explain everything though. If you were planning to take your own life, why would you bother to protect yourself against radiation? Again, that circles back to the first explanation, that the overdose was accidental. If only we knew exactly what it was the men took, we might have been able to find a firm answer. But again, due to decomposition, we likely will never know for sure.
Something really strange about this case is it may not have been a one-off. So a few years after their death, a story surfaced about another man, Hermes Luis Fitosa, and he was found dead on top of Cruizo Hill in Neves, so not too far from where Miguel and Manuel were discovered, and under suspiciously similar circumstances.
Ooh.
So police were said to have heard from a man named Jose de Sousa, who claimed that in 1962, 4 years before the lead masks case, another television technician was found dead at the top of the Cruiza Hill, with no signs of violence, all of his belongings still on him, and next to his body, police supposedly found a lead mask. So Hermes, he was said to be, as mentioned, he was an electronics researcher who worked with a Frenchman, but apparently Hermes had gone there to conduct an experiment to capture television signals without any equipment. As part of this bizarre experiment, he supposedly swallowed a round pill which was marked around the edges, kind of like the pattern a cook might make on a pastry with a fork.
Okay.
And according to Jose, the Frenchman, he later claimed that Hermes had died because he wasn't physically prepared for the task, which apparently carried the possibility of life or death. So theory suggests that the same may have happened to Miguel and Manuel if they were performing the same experiment, since the former was asthmatic and the latter he suffered from chronic abdominal pain. So perhaps they too were not physically prepared for the task. So it kind of adds to the possible overdose theory that you mentioned. I will say though, this is one of those stories it's been passed around on various blogs and forums, kind of like folklore, without any solid sourcing.
Right.
I did find a photograph of what looks like a newspaper clipping, supposedly from O Globo, which is a legitimate and credible newspaper in Brazil. But that image is all that really exists. Like, anyone kind of could have made it. They can kind of do something to make it look like a newspaper and take a photo of it. There's no official record of the article on O Globo's archives. I took a look, couldn't find it, and no corresponding police report that has ever been found. However, if the clipping is genuine, it hints at something bigger. Maybe like a network of believers who thought that they were onto something extraordinary, possibly otherworldly.
Ooh, possibly a conspiracy to cover up what was really going on in them hills.
There we go, yes, yeah.
Now we're sucking diesel, boy. All right. So one of the more imaginative explanations for the men's deaths was that actually they had been correct in their belief in extraterrestrials, and it was the result of meeting their heroes that led to their deaths. They did meet the aliens who took them away.
Yeah.
As the story spread, more reports came in from people swearing that they had seen some mysterious object flying in the sky on the night the men were believed to have been killed. Here's a report. Following a violent explosion at Altafona, Brazil, on June 13, 1966, a flaming object fell into the sea. There were many witnesses. That was 2 months earlier. Then, on August 17, 1966, two young electronics enthusiasts who had witnessed the phenomenon were found dead with strange masks of lead beside them on the Morro de Vintém hill at Niterói. A prominent citizen then reported seeing an unusual object flying over the Morro de Vintém on the evening of August 17th. Ooh. Now, whether that is true or not, if people did actually see aliens or UFOs, that's lost to history. I mean, that could have been just like a bird, or people just invented the story completely.
Yeah.
Nobody saw anything. So whether you came at the mystery from a skeptical point of view or not, the note could have been read as the men's step-by-step preparation for an expected upcoming close encounter. I mean, the note, ingest pill, wear masks, all that kind of stuff, was still like, it was a step-by-step to-do list. What was the objective?
Yeah.
Question mark.
It's like 3 steps away. I was like, oh, I gotta write this down.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna remember this.
I gotta get this right. Did they truly believe they were going to contact aliens? And part of the process was ingesting some specific cocktail of chemicals. They did seem to have one foot in science and the other in spiritualism, so it would make some sense. And many in Brazil truly believed that the men may have been successful in their search for contact with other life forms. Worldwide at the time, the idea of spiritualism, or specifically spiritism, a combination of science and religion, was becoming very popular as an alternative to traditional religion. But the movement was especially popular in Brazil, where it found a lot of dedicated followers. With the foundations already laid, it wasn't much of a stretch for many believers to swallow the more bizarre explanation for the deaths.
Spiritism had become extremely mainstream in Brazil, and it still is today, as you mentioned. Brazil has the largest spiritist population in the world, with around 20 million followers. I'm learning so much about Brazil in this episode, by the way.
This is great.
So interesting. But there is a difference between spiritualism and spiritism. They do sound the same, but they're two different movements born out of the same 19th century fascination with ghosts and the afterlife. So spiritualism that's kind of came out mainly the UK, the US, and it was all about talking to the dead, medium seances, knocking on tables, table turning, anything to do with tables, that sort of thing. It was like emotional and comforting. It cropped up around like after the war, so it was proof that loved ones were still out there somewhere. Spiritism, on the other hand, this was started in France with Allan Kardec. He was inspired by seances and table turning, but he tried to make it a bit more scientific, treating contact with spirits as something that, could be studied. Kardec, he built this whole belief system around it. It was like reincarnation, moral progress, and the idea that spirits could evolve just like people do. Now, Spiritism, it was introduced to Brazil in the mid-19th century, and it just took off. The Brazilian Spiritist Federation, this was founded in 1884, and by the 1940s census data, it showed that more than 400,000 Brazilians were identifying as spiritists.
Wow.
Then came the 20th century, and with it, a national icon, Chico Xavier. This guy, he was a household name. Like, the guy's face was on stamps and everything.
Wow.
He was huge. In 1979, he even penned a letter claiming it came from a murder victim through telepathic communication. The wild part is, the letter was accepted in court and helped acquit the accused. The judge cited the letter as the key reason for the acquittal, noting that it corroborated the defense's testimony and helped the court determine the killing was not premeditated. So this is just like how mainstream spiritism had become.
That's crazy.
Like, courtroom evidence from beyond the grave was just being accepted in murder trials. And all this was happening barely a decade after Miguel and Manuel were found on the hill. So when it comes to this case, like I guess we're remembering, by the standards of the time, they weren't seen as delusional. Spiritist circles, they genuinely believed the human mind could like contact these higher planes.
Right.
So perhaps they were like chasing what they believed was a genuine experiment in spiritist science.
Right. That's crazy. Wow, I didn't realize it was so mainstream.
It's crazy.
Then it's perfectly explainable that they believed that they were going to meet aliens or whatever.
Yeah, like these weren't crazy.
Do some mad shit.
Yeah.
Well, another outlandish, let's say, theory came from Father Quevedo, aka Oscar Gonzalez Quevedo Bruzan. Father Quevedo would later become known for his investigations into parapsychology, and he became basically known as sort of a famous debunker in Brazil, probably trying to combat these spiritualists with all their mumbo-jumbo. But of course, being a religious fella and a priest, he still clearly believed, though, in the supernatural himself. He just was one person who always wanted proof for this kind of stuff. His theory and his explanation for what happened to Miguel and Manuel was that they had been victims of some kind of occult ritual. The key being those pesky lead masks, something he claimed were used in many such cases, many such rituals. They would use weird lead masks. And he sort of failed to talk about it more than that. It's like, those Satanists up to it again, as usual.
Those damn occults.
Yeah. So some thought that there may be something much more earthly, but equally nefarious going on that ended with Miguel and Manuel's untimely deaths. There's even speculation that they may have been involved with one of the many secretive agencies operating in the background of international geopolitics. Perhaps they'd been recruited through their roles as electronics technicians and had, knowingly or no, been used as test subjects. It's not like it would have been the first or last time a clandestine agency had used such tactics. And given the state of worldwide tensions at the time, this is 1966 we're talking about, the motivation for any possible edge in warfare, both hot and cold, was a seriously sought after commodity. You know, had this been some kind of international espionage, using strange weapons and drugs, and then the men had been killed and discarded in bizarre circumstances, having done their job, inventing some kind of new radio or codes or spy shit. You know the drill. Something. Yeah, Miguel's own father certainly believed that the men may have been involved with something, if not secretive, maybe just plain illegal, as he told the magazine O Cruzeiro. He would say that both his son and Manuel had been acquaintances of another man named Eliseo Carrera Gomez back in their hometown of Campos de Goyatacas. And he alleged that along with Eliseo, Miguel and Manuel, being electricians, had experimented with bomb making. And this is the victim's father talking here. And that those bombs could have led to their deaths. Maybe it wasn't like involved with a clandestine secret agency, but maybe just plain old making bombs.
Yeah.
Now, the bomb-making part did turn out to be inaccurate. Eliseo Carrera Gomez was the friend who told the police about the men being part of a scientific spiritualist group, and he himself was a member of that group. The bomb, it hadn't actually been a bomb at all. In truth, 2 months earlier, the men had attempted to contact Mars, and the device had ended up exploding. This was in the report I read earlier. They tried again at Atafona Beach on June 13th, 1966, only for the experiment to go catastrophically wrong. This time, it caused an explosion that rocked the entire neighborhood, shaking buildings as far away as 15 kilometers.
Yeah, that's a bomb.
Yeah, that's a hell of a bomb. That's a fucking nuclear bomb. Yeah. Eliseo now is far from a reliable narrator, however, going on to tell the police that he and the others had already had an interaction with a genuine bona fide UFO.
My name is Alf. I'm a space being.
They weren't just bullshitters interested in meeting UFOs. They were the real deal. He said the experience that Eliseo, Manuel, and Miguel had previously lasted about 5 minutes, and it was something the men all wanted to repeat. Adding to the strange events of that day, roughly at the same time as the explosion on the beach and its effects were felt, fishermen just off the coast reported seeing something shoot up into the sky and then crash down into the ocean. Something they considered a UFO, which is probably just bomb parts.
Yeah, it's probably just like the Mars phone that they were creating.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what they used to make the phone that made it go so wrong. So what I've done is, I've taken a normal phone, and I've just packed it with about 40 pounds of C4.
And I can call Mars now. That's how it works, right?
It's ringing. Hello?
You have to speak up, we're in tell. One of the men's employees, a Valder Cardoso, would tell the police that he believed it was Eliseo and not Miguel and Manuel who had been the driving force behind the explosion at the beach. And that in fact, old buddy Eliseo may have had an undue level of influence on Miguel and Manuel. Essentially, the story framed Eliseo as a charismatic cult leader type who had led Miguel and Manuel into the scientific spiritism community and into the misadventure that claimed their lives. According to this, it may have been Eliseo, who also claimed to be a, quote, spiritual doctor, had prescribed the pair the capsules mentioned in the note, and it may have been Eliseo who had given them the instructions found on the note at the scene. That it would have been his handwriting for. It was also Eliseo who dropped the men off at the bus station on Wednesday the 17th at around 9 a.m., the last day they were seen alive, maybe dictating to them while Miguel wrote it down, or he wrote it down himself. Miguel's wife had earlier told the police that her husband and Manuel were part of the same spiritualist group as Eliseo, so essentially, their buddy Eliseo was a cult leader who had led these two men to be killed.
Right.
Perhaps because he believed it, or perhaps maybe he wanted their shit, maybe he wanted their wives. Who knows?
Who knows?
Things.
Yeah.
A year on from the deaths, the men's bodies were exhumed, but no further evidence was uncovered, and the courts ultimately dismissed the case in 1967, considering the case simply unsolvable and not worth further investigation.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Who cares? The case definitely has some echoes of other mysteries, like Dyatlov Pass or Roswell, just on a much smaller scale, as it only involves 2 people, but it's still weird and bizarre. And I think it'd be hugely disingenuous not to mention the many, many failings of the police and their investigation into the deaths. As busy and underfunded as they may have been, they seem to have missed the window of opportunity to successfully solve the mystery presented to them. Not only did they not preserve the scene, they failed to push for the autopsies to be performed as a matter of urgency, which if they had been, there was 2 weeks that passed. And in those 2 weeks, the answers were getting less and less every day. Toxicology tests could have been done, but they weren't. Chief of Police Idovan Ferreira ultimately concluded that Miguel and Manuel had died as a result of, quote, unsuccessful parapsychological experiment. Which sounds kind of awesome.
It does.
Yeah.
It's still pretty vague, but...
Yeah, personally, it's probably the same. I would agree with that as well. That it was some kind of weird alien UFO experiment that just went horribly wrong. Likely they did purposely ingest some kind of poison, thinking that it would...
get their mind on a higher level.
I mean, they thought they could talk to Mars with a bomb phone. So maybe they thought if they took poison, they can go to Mars. I mean, Lord knows what these guys thinks. Thing was, though, who knows if they may have purposely ingested the drugs that were strong enough to kill them, but maybe they didn't think that it would kill them. I mean, Miguel and Manuel had very much expected to be returning home that evening, but not before having an experience with some kind of otherworldly beings. Not your typical Martians or Greys, but some kind of extra-dimensional rather than extraterrestrial beings. Beings that could only be observed or interacted with if certain conditions were met, including an altered consciousness. Maybe they devised some kind of specific cocktail of chemicals, like I mentioned earlier, in order to try and do just that. Only they got something horribly wrong. The mistake ended up being fatal, and it inadvertently caused one of Brazil's biggest mysteries. Whatever the reality, they seem to have sincerely believed in what they were seeking out. And that'll do it for the lead masks mystery, which still remains a mystery to this day, though we can hazard a fairly good guess as to what happened.
Aliens.
Aliens, exactly.
100%.
Let's go back to aliens. Yeah. Alrighty, folks, that'll do it for this whole episode.
Have you ever looked at the big mask companies?
Oh, Big Mask.
Big Mask.
They're in it, exactly.
They were like, oh my god, this is going to revolutionize the industry.
It's a great advertising.
Right? Who uses masks the most? Airplanes. What has Brazil got? An airport.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. What do
connect the dots. Open
aliens
your eyes,
fly
people.
in?
Right?
A UFO is a type of airplane.
There we go.
But it's all coming together.
It just makes sense.
Yes, I think it works. All right, Doki. Keith, thanks for joining me on this one. We definitely have to do an episode you were talking about.
Yes.
The suckas.
Yes.
That sounds friggin' awesome. So
The chupa chupa.
Chupa Chupas. All right. So look forward to that episode, folks. But yeah, thanks so much for listening, everybody. And stay tuned for the next whole episode, which will be up soon.
And I'll see you.
All right. Thanks, folks, for listening. Take care. Bye.